Gears of War Judgment had some pretty big boots to fill. The fourth in the hugely popular series, Judgment is the first to be developed by People Can Fly, the team behind the bombastic Bulletstorm. With Epic handing over the reins to one of the most successful series on Xbox, the big question is, can People Can Fly deliver the goods? Well, rest easy Gears fans, because they've delivered one of the most intense and exciting Gears games in the series. The game is a prequel, and the story takes place as a series of testimonials. Lieutenant Baird and 3 cohorts are on trial for charges unknown, and the gameplay takes place as each member of the team tells their story about what happened. At the end of the day, the story isn't exactly spectacular. It lacks the grandeur of Gears of War 2 and 3, and presents a very by-the-numbers backstory. However, by using the flashback narrative, it helps to somewhat disguise this, and the declassified options do add a little extra to each encounter. The gunplay in Gears of War Judgment is as tight as it's ever been in a Gears game. Characters snap in and out of cover with ease, and the ability to toss out a grenade with a simple tap of the shoulder button makes them a more useful option. The pacing of the missions is also quite well handled. There's less downtime between firefights, and very little wandering about. Instead, you'll enter an area, fight through the locust that appears, and move on. Each combat zone is broken up to give you an evaluation of how you played before launching you into the next encounter. The gameplay never really strays from this path. In previous games, there were moments to break up the gunplay, such as the vehicle section in Gears 1 or the Bromark section in Gears 2. This time around, you can jump on a turret, but it never really takes you out of the gameplay mechanic. In Gears of War Judgment, the gunfight is the sole star of the show. During missions, you're ranked on your performance and given a star rating. Headshots, executions and gibs all add to this score, while going down but not out will reduce it. This star rating is also affected by the new declassified system, and it's this system that adds a really interesting dimension to the game. At the start of each section, there's a giant red cog that you can interact with. You'll be presented with a challenge that will be applied to the next section of the game that you attempt, and will result in a big boost to your star rating if successful. These challenges can range from adding new enemy type to fighting in reduced visibility, and it really changes up the combat. Gears of War Judgment doesn't feature any set pieces, so to speak. There's no moments that are highly scripted to increase the epic scale of the conflict, and this isn't a bad thing at all. The game manages to create some crazy firefights through a couple of ways. Firstly, the locusts move more fluidly through the environment. Boomers will now climb over barricades, wretches literally climb the wall to get at you, and blood mounts will jump over obstacles. The second way that combat is ramped up is the use of a random spawn system. Enemies are not scripted to be in certain locations waiting for you. Instead, they'll spawn in random spots, and the type of enemy that you're facing will change too. If you're in an intense gunfight with some boomers, for example, and die, when you start the gunfight again, you may instead be faced with a legion of blood mounts. This makes every encounter feel dynamic, and forces you to change your battle tactics on the fly. A lot of the previous multiplayer game modes have returned for Gears of War Judgment, including Team Deathmatch and Domination. Free-for-all has also been introduced, and Horde mode has been replaced by Survival mode. Survival sees a team of cogs defending an objective against a horde of locusts. There are 4 cog classes, being Soldier, Medic, Engineer and Scout, and each class has its own weapons and abilities. Unfortunately, this game mode isn't really as good as Horde mode ever was. There's only 10 waves, for example, instead of 50, and without the ability to replace barricades or turrets, it becomes easy to be overrun once they're destroyed. The other big new game mode is Overrun, and it's this mode that really stands out amongst the rest. Overrun is similar to Survival mode, except that the attacking team takes control of the locusts in an attempt to destroy the objective the cogs are guarding. Locust players are able to select from a range of creatures similar to Beast mode in Gears 3, and each barricade or enemy destroyed gains you points for spawning a bigger creature. Unlike Survival mode, with only 5 grubs spawning at a time, it never really feels unfair, even once they've destroyed your barricades. People Can Fly have managed to make a visually stunning game. Gears of War has always been known for its heavy use of grey and brown colour palettes, however this has somewhat been thrown out the window. There are plenty of moments that, while not being set pieces in a traditional sense, are still jaw-dropping. Hell, there are even moments you'll be fighting under a blue sky, an almost unheard of feature in the Gears series. There were plenty of times I found myself marvelling at some of the smaller details, such as flames. In one section you round a corner of a narrow street and come across a tree burning in the middle of a small park. I was so impressed with how this looked, I didn't even notice the half-dozen locusts huddled nearby taking potshots at me. Gears of War Judgment may be the best Gears game in the series. Sure, the story lacks the epic scale of the previous titles, but the use of the flashback narrative really helps here, and the declassified missions are a stroke of genius. The replayability is huge, as combat never feels the same, and the multiplayer is as good as it's ever been. If you're a Gears fan, this is one you don't want to miss. If you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, like us on Facebook or follow us on Twitter. For all your gaming news and reviews, stay tuned to AussieGamegeek.com.au.